Thanks, everybody. Hopefully, you can hear me well and clear. Thank you so much for joining the webinar tonight. I appreciate you taking the time, to come and chat. The way we're going to approach the webinar tonight, we'll give a quick introduction about Kendu-Bay properties. Then we'll go into the details about the webinar, what we're discussing today, which is, what to know before investing in multifamily during economic uncertainty. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So we'll try to wrap up by 45 minutes into the hour so that at least there's 15 more minutes of the Q&A. And of course, we'll always make ourselves available if anybody has any question afterwards, to discuss. So without further delay, we'll get started. So once again, thank you so much for joining. I know right now there's a lot going on in the market. There's a lot of market uncertainties. There's, with everything we have, not just in the US, but all over the world. Some people believe we're in a recession. Some people believe we're not yet in a recession. Some people believe it's going to be a strong one. Some people believe it's going to be a light one. There's all kinds of theory, but no matter how you look at it, I think we know there's an issue, right? It just depends on what a level you believe how it will impact you or how it impact everybody else. And so, as we go through this webinar, I think it's important to look at the opportunity. With every recession, there's always winners and losers. Just the same way we had in 2008, there was a lot of winners and losers. And you definitely want to be part of a winner in this recession. I feel like recession always give you a window to make some investment that typically you would have not done during normal market, would have been hard. And so as we approach, everything that's happening, you kind of need to put yourself in a position whereby if there's an opportunity for you to jump on it, you didn't want to jump on right away. But again, I know there's also a lot of noises around, so you could easily make a big mistake and regret for the rest of your life. So the more you can do the due diligence and do the research, the better for you to be in a position to make a good investment decision. We, Kendu-Bay Properties, we started in 2009. We are part of the winners of 2009, so to speak. We started buying real estate in 2009, and that is what has led us to where we are today. So we are strong believers that given the right opportunity and given the right amount of research, you can easily be able to find something that you can invest on. You just have to do a lot, just gotta be a lot more careful because the market is not forgiving as much during a times like this compared to, like 2-3 years ago. So let's first of all talk about Kendu-Bay Properties. So Kendu-Bay Properties is a diversified real estate investment company. We've been doing business real estate investments since 2009. This is a private equity firm based in Boise, Idaho. We specializes in multifamily residential investment. That's our current focus. Our current portfolio is over $200 million asset under management and over 2,000 units, spanning across several states. We originally started with the single family investments back in 2009, and then we moved into Class C multifamily assets, in deep value-add areas, strong, in tough areas, in the Sunbelt market. And then we moved to multifamily Class B assets, and now we exclusively focuses on institutional grade Class A multifamily assets that must be located in a primary market in Texas, Florida, Arizona, Georgia, Idaho, and Utah. We choose our own battle. And as of now, those states are the market we're currently focusing on just because, we've done enough due diligence on those markets and we have a good understanding on how to underwrite deals in those markets. And we have experience in those markets, having invested in those markets. Kendu-Bay Properties, we source institutional grade assets, then we reposition them by bringing in above and beyond tenant experience enhancement and capital improvement and reducing operational expenses through efficiencies by implementing institutional grade property management companies. So we don't work with mom and pop property management company. We're very, very focused on the type of property management companies that we bring in. And we have everything, so we need, consider the type of assets we deal with. We need people who knows what they're doing and they do everything at the institutional level. We source our deals, our properties off market and on market through strong broker relationship in those markets. We strongly believe like, hey, choose your own battle, choose the market you want to focus on, build a relationship with the brokers, and that's how you get good deals. When it comes to multifamily, it's not like single family that you can go to MLS and just do a search, or go to Zillow and do a search and find one. Most of the multifamily are kind of like, it's wild, wild west. Every broker has their own list. Every broker company has their own marketing platform. So you'll have to deal with all kinds of different, brokers as you try to look for different deals. And any market you are in, you always want to try to find who are the good brokers, who are the strong brokers in that market, build relationship with them so that they can bring you good deals. Our geographic focus combined with property management experience, asset management experience, that is, enables us to acquire great asset at reasonable price, because knowing about the market and having that relationship with the brokers enables you to understand whether it's a good opportunity or not, and if it is, we jump on it. We have strong reputation for adding significant value add to our assets. We target, our primary focus is improve the quality of life for our tenants and have a tremendous profit return for our partners. That's high level about us. Of course, we can always chat more about us, during Q&A, or we can have a follow-up call. Just a few things more, just so you understand us a little more, just so that, if you ever consider investing with us, I think this is some of the key things you got to keep in mind. Our vision, right? Our vision is to apply service-oriented value add and physical value add multifamily investment experience and proven technology based property management efficiency to institutional grade multifamily assets with two main goals. One is to improve the tenant quality of life and experience. And two, to get at least 1.8x equity multiple for our investors. And based on a 3 to 5 year hold. What that basically means is that, hey, if you were to invest with us, then our target would be to get you at least 180% profit based on a 5 year hold. So if you buy a property today, within 5 years from today, you should get at least 180% profit. That's what that means. Of course, in order for us to achieve that, we got to go to the first thing, which is improve the tenant's life and experience. Because the more you can improve their life, the more they'll be willing to pay a little extra in rent and be able to enable us to be able to achieve our plans. Our guiding principles, which is very key: analyze investment with prudence, diligence, and care. We have very transparent monthly communication with our investors. It's very detailed. Every one of our investors, every single month, get at least 100-page summary. There's a summary and then a 100-page financial report detailing every single information about the asset over the last 30 days. They have all the information they need in their fingertips. We are very, very transparent about that. So where every single dollar came from and where every single dollar went to. We act as fiduciary to our investors. We put supreme focus on protection, preservation, and effective utilization of our investors' funds. And that's very, very important. We also recognize that our projects, in order for us to succeed on our projects, everyone has a role to play in the project. Whether it's an employee, whether it's a resident, whether it's a vendor, whether it is an investor, whether it is a customer, everybody has a role to play in that project. So everybody gets treated with respect and integrity. It's not like one person gets treated better than the other. We know everybody has a role to play. In order for us to succeed on that project, everybody must be respected for what they bring into the game and respect them. And of course, our goal is to be able to exit deals on our own terms. So we look for strategic exit opportunity, and then that's when we exit. A little bit more about what kind of market we invest in so that you can just know we just don't invest anywhere. As you can see, we were very targeted on the states that we currently focus on, and that's all we're investing in for now. Of course, we'll always be open to expanding it later, but those are the markets we focus on right now. And those markets meet certain key criteria. One, the job growth must be above national level. The population growth must be above national level. The state and local government policy must be deemed landlord friendly. So you guys have probably been hearing a lot of landlord restriction or rent controls from some states. You'll never find us in those states because we believe we work hard, we're gonna do everything ethically. And if there's an opportunity for us to improve somebody's life and make their life better, the government should not be stepping in and restricting what we can do. The sub-market we focus on must be 0 to low crime levels, and they must be either Class B or Class A assets. So for example, Texas is one of our markets. We just don't invest anywhere in Texas. It must be a major metro, first of all. But even inside that major metro, it's only in sub-markets in that metro that we invest. We just don't invest everywhere in that metro. The sub-market average income must at least meet the Class B level in order for us to invest in that market. Value proposition, we have 10 plus years of experience, relevant market expertise. We choose our market and we focus on them and we know them very, very well. We have institutional debt and equity relationship, establish strong broker relationship, strong asset management experience, operational experience. We have assets spanning several states. So we have what it takes to run the type of assets we currently own and we plan on acquiring. So, if we approach you with a deal, it's going to be a deal that falls not only in our kind of size criteria and product criteria, but also meet our expectation in terms of our experience. So now let's talk about, the topic for today. Whether we're in recession or not, these facts remain the same. And that's because, depending on whether you look at it, I don't think we're in recession yet. Personally, I don't think so. Some people believe we are. I'm of the opinion that, yes, we're going to have it, but it's going to be light. Some people believe it's going to be stronger. So it depends on how you look at it. But one thing still remains, there's several things that still remain the same. Historically, multifamily tend to do better than other investments, especially during the recession, as was seen in 2008. If you remember 2008, people lost jobs, people lost their houses. Guess where they went to? They went to apartments to live, So it's kind of like that last resort place, when you've lost other things to go to. It will always, when you compare all the real estate, industries, and you compare them in 2008, if you remember 2008, the reason why we had recession was because of subprime loan, right? And a lot of people couldn't afford their loans. Well, multifamily of all the real estate did the strongest compared to everybody else. And for this reason, because if you think about it, it's different from single family. And we'll be able to go that in more details later on. Land is finite, human population continues to increase, which means you give time, the value of the real estate asset will always go high. Yes, during recession or like 2008, property went down. Yeah, they went significantly down. But guess what? 2-3 years later, they were fully back on. This is a long-term gain. You don't come in here to get money overnight. You got to plan on being here for the long run because, great wealth are built over time. And, you invest in a deal right now, the value might be low, but give a little bit of time, it will back and will go above and beyond what you'd have imagined. It does not matter the state of the economy, people will still have a place to live. There's more demand for multifamily during economic slowdown than any other time. So should you invest in multifamily right now? Yes, you should, given if there's an opportunity for you to invest in, because for sure, it's not like people are going to the street. I mean, when 2008 happened, yes, people ended up in the street, but there's a drop of bucket in the ocean. So you shouldn't expect much reduction in occupancy. People still stay. Real estate has long been proven to make anyone rich, no matter their background, no matter your education background, ethnic background, racial background, whatever background you have. With real estate, you have a chance of striking it rich. You just have to be there for the long run and do the due diligence for it. Uncle Sam care a lot about housing for Americans. And Uncle Sam will always step in to assist, especially during market slowdown. I give you two examples. One example, when we started investing in 2009, the first house we bought, there were more government incentives in 2009, both federal and at the state level, that when all is said and done, we received more money from the government than we put down as a down payment in 2009. So did the government step in? Yes, they did. Fast forward about 10 years later during the pandemic, the government stepped in again. They gave a lot of tax incentive, they gave free rent to tenants. I mean, the government very sensitive because let's face it, this is a necessity. It's not a choice. It's not like a hotel whereby, you go there by, just to hang out. This is a live necessity. The government is very sensitive to it. And the government wants you to help the government make it easy, make the housing affordable. And so the government will also be there to help you provide the opportunity and housing opportunity to everybody. So there's a reason why there's Freddie and Fannie. You cannot find Freddie and Fannie when you're trying to buy a hotel or trying to buy a warehouse. You're not going to get them. There's a reason why there's all those kind of programs. And they'll be there. They're even stronger during recession. Like during the pandemic, if you think about it, a lot of private lender dried out, but the big lender that was still very active in the market was Fannie and Freddie. Even right now, a lot of banks are falling, drying out, but Fannie and Freddie are still there lending because the government wants to still make sure that the housing stays affordable for everybody. Tax write-off is the same, whether you're in economic slowdown or not, you get the same tax write-off. As a matter of fact, you get even more tax incentive, like I indicated in 2009, during recession than any other time. So you just got to keep an eye for all those, incentives. One thing always remember is that smart real estate investors make great investment during market slowdown. When the crowd run to the hills, that's when you buy. If you think about it, a house during recession, that a house goes in its value by 20 or 30%, that's a good discount you got to jump in on and take advantage of, because you wait 2-3 years later, it will be gone. So you're better off buying it when you can get a discount, because that same seller, you go to them, 2-3 years later, they're not going to give you that discount. As you consider real estate investment, there's certain risks that you cannot control whatsoever. The non-controllable risk, like any other business, you'll always have those non-controllable risks. Your only choice is how to mitigate them or how to make them have less impact on you. These risks tend to be national or international, and no matter where you are, they'll definitely affect you. Geopolitical risk, for example, when Russia decided to invade Ukraine, it affected you. When you look at when they affected Ukraine, when you look at the gas, right? The gas went up. Fast forward a few months later, the price of wheat had gone high. So you always have those kind of tension between countries. Something happening across the globe on the other side of the world. You have nothing to do with it. You are very innocent, but whatever they're doing over there is affecting you significantly. Is the way of life. It's, I guess, what it takes to live on planet Earth. You just got to plan to expect it, and you just got to have strategies or things in place so that when they happen, you know how to weather the storm. Government policies is another example. For example, when the Fed decided to increase the rate, I mean, you could be doing everything to the best, but the government increasing the interest rate is affecting you no matter whether you like it or not. Directly and indirectly is affecting you. If you have, apartment, for example, you're gonna have tenants losing their job because all of a sudden they're laid off because their bank went underground or something happened to them. So it will always affect you. Economic risk, pandemic risk, natural disaster, right? Pandemic risk as an example. All those happening. But one thing that makes multifamily attractive is that even with all this risk, you are less impacted compared to other real estate investment or other investment vehicles, not just real estate, but other investment vehicles. For example, when you have, multifamily, for example, you still have people pay rent, if you have better planning in place and better operations and better property manager, people still pay rent, even if the Fed increases the rate, when there's, inflation, you can increase rent, right? So it's affecting everybody, but with you, there's a way for you to kind of help mitigate the risk so that it has less impact on you. And that's one of the beautiful things that multifamily brings. Natural disaster, right? That affects everybody. If you live in Texas or Florida, you get the hurricane and all those kind of stuff, which can happen. And when they happen, you just have to make sure you have better planning. In this case, better insurance. If you have a robust insurance policy in place, you'll be able to weather the storm. I mean, I bought properties that were flooded before we bought them, and the seller sold it to us, basically feeling new because they used the money from insurance to completely rehab the property, make it new, and be able to sell to us now that it does not need much repair because the insurance paid for all the repair. And so when you have all those things, you just have to make sure you have proper insurance to help cover for those. So non-controllable risk will always be there. It's part of life. You just have to plan to expect it. There's nothing you can do. You just have to be in a position or invest in something that that if they happen, there'll be less impact to you compared to everybody else. What you should know. There's a number of things you should know before you invest during multifamily recession. Some of these things, once you pull the trigger and you purchase the property, it is too late. But you can control it before you purchase, right? Property location. You can never control the property location, but you can control where you buy the property, right? So in other words, you can choose the location where you're going to buy the property. And once you buy the property, you're stuck with it until you sell it. You're never going to change much of the location. I mean, you have some influence, but it's going to be very, very limited. So doing due diligence on location before investing is extremely, extremely, extremely important. As you can tell on one of our previous slides, we indicated some of the key requirements for what for the markets that we invest in must meet, like population growth, job growth, economy, and everything. So before investing in a place, like what's the population growth for that location? In my opinion, it must be well above national level. You should not be going somewhere that is below national level because it's not a booming area, and you want to be in a place whereby if you increase rent, people are not gonna move out because there's so many supply over the places. What's the local demographics? You can understand the local demographics. What's their general source of income? What's the average age for that area, for example, right? What's the general composition of, all kinds of stuff. And you can easily find a lot of this information through industry reports like Yardi Metrics and Costa and ALN data and among other things. The local economy, is it robust enough? Is it diversified? It's extremely important to invest in a local economy that's very diversified, that's not heavily relying on one employer or one industry. As a matter of fact, not one industry should be more than 30% of the local economy. You don't want to be in a scenario whereby you invest in a property and then fast forward, a year later, an industry shut down or an employee shut down, and all of a sudden you don't have tenants because they all lose job and your delinquency goes through the roof because they can't afford their rent anymore. So you want to be in a location where the local industry is diversified. You always want to look within the 1 mile radius, within the 3 mile radius, and within the 5 mile radius. That should give you a good indication of the local economy. 90% of your tenants will always be within that, 5-mile radius. 80%, not 90, 80% will be within that 5-mile radius. So you want to know what's their source of income and who are the major employers. Are they the good kind of employers, or they're the one that kind of pay crappy, salary or wages? Is it good employers that are coming to there? What's the crime rate for the location? You want to definitely know, because that's an indicator. Generally, the general trend is the average household income is kind of correlated to the crime rate. The lower the average household income, the more you tend to have crime rate, and the higher the average household income, the less tend to be crime rate. And so, in my opinion, you should invest in a place that at least should be at least a B class location or more. Try to stay away from C class location, especially right now as we go through the pandemic. In my opinion, if we have a true recession, is always going to be, the low wage earners that are going to be affected first. Those are the ones that are going to first feel it, because they're the one likely going to lose the job. And when they lose the job, they're also the one likely not to have some kind of backup money, like, some savings in the bank that they can use to, to pay the rent for at least 2-3 months while they try to get another job. So who are the competitors in your region? How are they doing? And that's very key, right? What are their rents? Are you going to be the only one charging very high rents, compared to them? You don't want to be the pioneer, especially at this time, of the recession. You want to make sure you come in. You don't try to introduce something crazy, and then, be burnt out of it. What are the upcoming economic development area? Is very key, because that helps you understand what are the opportunities in that general area. Insurable risk, very, very important, that, you have insurance policy to help cover for those risks that are insured, like, like the flood and all the fire and other things. One thing to know in mind, insurance prices are increasing every year. So you get a plan for at least 30% increase on insurance every year, just to be safe, this seems to be across the board. Of course, if you're in Sunbelt state, you'll feel it more than other places, but, depending on what market you are and how much it's prone to all those natural disasters, you get a plan accordingly, because you don't want to be in the middle of a recession and all of a sudden, you face some of those natural disasters and you have a damage and your insurance is not strong enough to cover for it. Property condition. What will it take to maintain and repair the asset? Remember one thing, if we have a strong recession, everybody expect, not to make much significant increase in rent, right? And the last thing you want to do is have a property that requires a lot of maintenance, and all of a sudden you don't have money from rent to cover for that. So in my opinion, try to stay away from property that are going to require a lot of deep value add or very old assets that are going to be more expensive to maintain, because if you have to maintain it, it's really out of rent, you might be out of luck. The last thing you want to do is, the roof, leaking, and all of a sudden you don't have the money to pay for it, and having a tenant move out, and when the tenant move out, you can't lease it out because it's not rentable. So very important that the property condition, what's going to take to repair it, and you got to put money, significant amount of money on the side. It should be the older the property. The performance of the property is very key. Can the property support itself if revenue collection goes down during recession? And that's very key, because there's a good chance that the revenue collection is going to go down. Is the property strong enough to weather the storm? Remember, this is one thing. You buying the property during the recession, and you know that you wait 2-3 years later, you'll make a home run with it. But do you have what it takes to last from now to 3 years from now, right? For the next 3 years, right? And is the property able to, stay afloat for the next 3 years? Very, very important, because you're getting it right now. And if you can't stay afloat, which means you're not going to make it 3 years from now and make a home run with it. Mortgage, very important. Will they put excess strain on the property? And the property easily pay for the mortgage even during economic slowdown? Because remember, the last thing you want to do is a lender coming in and taking the property because you can't afford. We know people that have been affected by this, in the market, and you definitely don't want to be one of those. We got some lenders out there that are more aggressive than others. We got some lenders that also own property and they rather take the property away. And so you want to make sure that whatever mortgage you have is not going to be a mortgage that's putting a strain on the property that, the property struggles. Property management company. This is your front line. This is your frontline staff. They're the one who are going to talk to the tenants when the tenants lose their job. They're the one who's going to talk to tenants on a daily basis, trying to collect on the rent. They're the one who's going to be knocking the door. So do they have the experience in that market? Do they have the system in place to run the asset? Do they have experience that type of asset? And so you definitely want to make sure you fully understand who the property management company is, so that, if anything happens, they have the necessary infrastructure and the system to be able to run the property when things don't go right. General partner, right? General partner basically the sponsor on the deal. You want to know what's their experience. How long have they been doing this business? Do they own and operate similar assets? Do they have experience with local market? Because if you think about it, so the property manager, there's somebody overseeing the property manager on a day-to-day basis. That's supposed to be general partner and sponsors. That's what we do. Like with us on all our properties, there's daily communication on every single one of our property, one way or the other. We have weekly meeting with the property manager discussing everything about the property, from the delinquency to occupancy to all the ongoing projects, to everything about the property, right? Marketing, the whole shebang. And so you need a general partner who has experience in running that property, knows how to run the property, knows how to manage the property manager. Because the general partner is basically the one that is setting the tone of the business plan, right? They're the one who will tell the property manager, hey, this is what we want to do with this property over the next 5 years. And then the property manager go implement it. But then the general partner is not supposed to go back and, sit back and do nothing. They're supposed to be working hand in hand with the property manager to make sure that the property manager execute the business plan as expected. And so the general partner / sponsor's experience is extremely important. And how long have they been doing it? It's very, very important. In my opinion, are they even dedicated, to running, like are they full-time real estate, or do they have other jobs whereby, it limits how much they engage? Very, very important that you understand the sponsor's experience, and the knowledge of the local market is extremely important, because no, just because something works in one market does not make it work in another market. And the more they're familiar with the local market, the more it will enable them to be able to run the property correctly. Some of the question to ask sponsors and general partner, as you look to invest on an investment, how long will it take to turn the property around? Right now, we're in a recession. Generally, the goal is 5 years or less, right? Or 2 to 5 years. If somebody tell you they're going to turn a property next 2 years, I think that's a tough call. Right now, there's lots of unknown. Yes, it's possible they can turn property in 2 years, but with the pending uncertainty, are you sure? How sure are they to turn the property around? Especially when this issues the property. So you definitely want to make sure you clearly understand their business plan to turn the property around, and how long will it take? And what if they can't turn around within the time they're saying? What's the option B and option C? What's the value add proposal, and how will it improve the asset? Most deals have some kind of value add proposal. Make sure you clearly understand it, because not every value add proposal work right now just because of the unknowns. What's the break even occupancy? What if number of tenants move out? can the property still pay the loan and keep the light on? What is the projected delinquency during the session, right? Because if people lose job, you expect some tenants to fail in paying their rent. And so what's the sponsor assuming that to be? Are they accounting for that, or are they saying that there's going to be no delinquency? If somebody tells there's going to be no delinquency, then you better run away, because there'll always be delinquency in every project. Even if they don't have any, they should account that is going to happen. I have one of my properties, this year, we're in June now, and since June, we've only had 1 or 2 tenants delinquent. But when we're underwriting it, we still assume very high delinquency because you always want to account for known, especially during this time of recession or pending recession. How much is the sponsor putting aside for rainy day fund? Very, very important, because you'll always run into soft patch. You'll always run into issue as you execute the business plan. And it's the rainy day fund that's going to help save the day. You might have a scenario whereby the occupancy goes significantly down, and the property manager is going to go to the sponsor and say, like, hey, we don't have the money to pay all the bills. Can we get this? And you definitely the sponsor need to have some money on rainy day fund to help cover for those. They need to make sure that there's enough cushion. I tell you, I'm learning from experience, my own experience. It's very, very important that they put a lot of cushion on rainy day fund, because it's going to save the day if you run into any soft patch. Is the mortgage floating or fixed, right? That's very, very important. Especially if it's floating rate, then is there a rate cap? And when does it expire? I know people that, bought a deal 2 years ago, they bought rate cap for about 90,000, and now it's like 500,000. I mean, that's a significant increase. If you're buying something right now with the floating, you need to make sure the rate cap as at least 2 years out from now. Hopefully by then the market would have come down, but you need to make sure that the rate cap is there in place to make sure that it to control the interest rate from basically going through the roof. The best option right now is fixed loan or fixed rate, of course, but of course fixed rate come with their own drawbacks, and sometimes you might have a scenario where floating is better than fixed. And if you're doing floating, you just have to make sure that you keep rate cap in mind. Is there interest reserve? Most lenders are requiring, some do not, but I think it's one of those things that actually is a good thing to have right now, because that's one more option C kind of scenario whereby if you run into any issue, there's not enough money on rainy day fund, at least the lender mortgage is still being paid. What's the exit plan, right? Is it next 2 years, 3 years? What's the details with that regard? What if recession lasts longer than expected? What's the sponsor's option B? Option C. What do they plan on doing if it lasts longer? Like sell it, refinance. What will they do? And all of those scenarios, what's most plausible? How is rent achievable in the current market condition? How is other income achievable in the current market condition? You definitely want to make sure you clearly understand those, because if right now somebody say, yeah, we're going to achieve rent by say 15% rent increase, of course it's not possible. Even 10% rent increase is not possible. Right now, anybody, there's opportunities to buy, there's indeed opportunities to buy, but the property should be able to afford itself at the current rent, or maybe just a very, very slight increase, maybe burn loss to lease or something like that, but nothing crazy like, hey, they're getting $100, and $900 rent, you're going to increase to 1,000 or 1,500. Yeah, you got to be super, super careful how much rent increase is being assumed and how possible that is. And you need to have a scenario whereby if that's not achievable, the property should still be able to weather the storm for the next 3 years. Planning for the unknowns, very important. This is not a get rich quick, you can't get rich overnight with real estate. It's a long-term business. It's a slow way to generate wealth, but it's a great way to generate wealth, because once you generate it, it stays. You know, it's not going to go down quickly unless, of course, you decide to, you know, screw up or, you know, make unnecessary bets. You know, real estate is one place that we know for sure has made more people rich than anybody else. And so it's been proven as the best way, you know, to make good profit over a long period of time. You know, save money for rainy day. Do not expect to hit home run from day one, but expect to be there for the long run, and you will certainly prevail a millionaire. And if you remember, real estate make more millionaire than any other industry in, you know, in the country. I mean, people always talk about tech job, but everything, but, you know, tech has only been over the last, you know, tech boom like last 30 years or so, right? But real estate has been there, you know, since before time, right? And it's been proven over and over to be able to make people rich. Stay away from markets that are likely to enact legislation that will affect your business plan. You know, I'm not a fan of rent control, rent restrictions, so I try to stay away from those. Insurance prices are increasing. Please plan accordingly, because, you know, with everything going on, especially in the supplemental market, you got to make sure you plan well for that and you account for that. Interest rate continue to rise. Budget for higher rate and more expensive rate cap if getting a floating interest rate. So we don't know how long it's going to take, you know, the Fed to stop raising interest rate. They just paused, but there's a good chance they're going to increase it again, which is an opportunity for you, because especially if you have not invested in real estate before, um, 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 there's an opportunity that you can, this is your golden chance to get in and buy something at discounted rate. But you expect that you're going to be paying higher interest. But also the good news is that 3 years later, you can refinance it into a lower interest or something better, or sell it for more money. So just plan for the next 3 years that, hey, this is what it's going to take. And I know 3 years from now, you know, this is going to get better, or hopefully, and be able to, you know, reap the benefit. Ooh, I'm running out of time. Sorry. So in conclusion, with better planning, you can make a home run and a great profit during recessions. Remember one thing, 40% of American millionaires got their wealth from real estate. I like the Warren Buffett quote, right? Be careful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. Remember, Warren Buffett made more profit than anybody else during the last recession, the 2008 recession, because he knew how to buy when everybody was running to the hills. This is a team sport. Don't go alone. Join our team and let's take a deal down together. With us, we're always looking for people to partner up with, to do deals together. So, you know, multifamily are not cheap for the most part. Actually, this institutional grade multifamily, they're always in the millions and the millions and the millions. And you don't have to try to buy it yourself. You know, join our investment club, you know, so we can be able to, you know, show you the investment opportunities that we have. Right now, we're being extremely cautious. We're still looking for deals, but we're being extremely cautious just so that, you know, we don't get banned. But don't try to do it by yourself. You know, try to join a team and partner up so you can be able to acquire more and bigger assets together. So I'm going to skip my bio here, since I already gave, you know, about the Kendu-Bay properties, but I'm just going to go real quick here to some of the case studies, some of the assets we've sold recently. Flats at 2030, which is one of our recent sales, you know, in Phoenix. This one in Phoenix. This is the returns projected as actual. You know, when we acquired it, we had projected $7 million profit. Sale, we ended up, you know, getting a profit of $20 million. You know, we had projected that we're going to hold it for 5 years, but we only did it for 3 years. You know, the equity multiple, we had projected that investors would double their money in 5 years, 2x, end up 3.59, more than basically, you know, tripling their money in that same span of years. IRR was through the roof, from 15% to 50%. The average annualized return, 20% to 81%. I mean, it was amazing deal for our investors. You know, some of the key things, for example, you know, we bought it for 16 million, sold for 37 million. That's a 221% increase. The gross potential rent, we increased it by $1 million, within that 3-year holding period. Other income, we increased from $90,000 per year to $562,000 per year. That was a 624% increase in other income. And that's how we're able to achieve those profit for our investors. Another one we sold was this one here in Dallas, Texas. Another great asset. As you can tell, we completely remodeled this asset. All this you're seeing are improvement that we installed. Everything here was brand new value add that we added. We added this fitness center here. This is the leasing office. We completely did it. This wall is new. This fitness center used to be a car garage. We converted it into a fitness center, and the tenant just loved it. For this asset, we had projected a profit of $4.75 million, and we ended up making a profit of $13 million. We had assumed a 5-year hold. We only held it for about 2.5 years. Equity multiple was 1.9x. We got 2.7x. IRR from 15% to 51%, and the total return we were planning on 96%. We ended up getting 170% profit. I mean, it was a true return for the investors. The price we had assumed, we purchased at $15 million, sold it for 28, which is 190% increase. Gross potential rent, we increased by 120% from $2 million to $2.4 million. That's $400,000 increase. Other income was from $231,000 to $390,000, 169% increase. So another great investment for our investors. They were able to make good profit on that deal. Just a little bit about our portfolio. See some of our portfolio. We'll be sharing this later so you can see them. You're welcome to see them also at our website. They're listed on our website, so you can see them there. And now this is contact us. I'm gonna stay on this screen, contact us, and try to have a Q&A now. I know we're kind of coming to the top of the hour. So I would open up for Q&A. Okay, I'll go to the chat here to see what Q&A we have. Hold on. Okay, all right. Yes, so somebody has a question. AVB has 2 questions. Go ahead. Go ahead and type the question so we can answer. Feel free to type the question. And so I can be able to answer. Yeah, so the other income that you're in last property, what does that consist of? So several things, we do on other income. Let me see if I can find an example here. Just an example so I can show you. Sometimes just better to show. Okay, so I'll share the screen here for a second. Yeah, so here's an example of one of our properties, right? So we go line by line in terms of what they're getting today and what we will be doing, on the property. So like in this case, this is an exercise. We don't plan, we usually explore everything, but we do not underwrite that we're going to achieve everything. We only assume they're going to achieve a fraction of what we're projecting. So like in this property, we had assumed, for example, that rent has insurance, right? The tenant, the seller was not getting anything, but we assume that we're going to be getting about 5,400. With the units that have a pool view, we were planning on 8,400. Fast floor premium, wash and dryer rental as an example. So we basically go line by line, every single line item. We see what they're not doing today that we can do, that we can add on. Some places we just keep like, if this is what they're getting today, we just keep it as is. But then, at the end of the day, we should be able to find an opportunity of something they're not doing today that we can. So, as you can tell here, like for example, pet, rental income, right? So from pet, um, um, uh, they were getting $3,196. With us, we're assuming 8,000, 600. So it could be even something that they're doing today. We just maybe add $5 there, and then um, achieve something. Storage here as an example, right? They were getting 815. We'd assume 1,200. That we'll be able to achieve from storage. So when all is said and done, like in this case, the seller was getting 356. With us, we were getting 644. But I also tell you one thing, on this investment, we only assume we're going to get 450. So even though on our underwriting, we know we can push 644, but we're not even assuming that we're going to get a 644. We're saying, yeah, we'll push for 644, but for the sake of being careful, let's just assume we only get 450, something realistic based on this exercise. I know that was a lengthy answer, but hopefully that answers your question, Keith. Let me see if we can go to the next question here. Okay. One of the questions is, how are we dealing with the cash flow with the rise of floating rate property tax and insurance? Indeed, that's been a major issue. And, I gotta tell you, it's a major issue for us. I'm not gonna, lie or say anything about, that's not true. The interest rate, you could tell it is some of our property that are floating rate, but it's the one that is not floating rate. The one that is floating rate, indeed, we've been affected because, for example, one of the property we're having to pay $50,000 extra per month in mortgage payment before the interest rate kicks in. That's $50,000 we could have given the investors, but we're not, because of everything that's happening, right? And so, part of lesson learned, is, we should have probably got, the spread on the cap rate should have been a lot lower. In this case, when we acquired the property, the interest rate was about 3.5%. But before the interest rate kicks in, it goes to 6%. Now it's like 8%. So anything above 6%, then the cap rate is paying, but which means, we're basically, instead of paying 3.5% on interest, we're now paying 6%. And so it's basically affect other projects, like, some of the capex we could have done, we're basically having to kick the can down the road because of that. So indeed, that's something you have to be careful about, you have to worry about. Indeed, it makes fixed rate more attractive right now. But again, with fixed rate, sometimes the numbers just don't work, because you might have a scenario whereby, a lender is willing to give you 70% leverage, on a floating versus fixed, you get like 45% leverage. So you're like, okay, so which is which? in that case, you might be better off just, accounting for high interest rate, because when you, compare the two, it's going to basically, the numbers work better, with the floating. Property tax and insurance, indeed, those are major, things we have to account for. Like I indicated, we like to assume at least 30% 30% increase in insurance every year. That's what we try to project. Of course, we have good, insurance brokers that have been able to help us, keep it in check. So it's very important to have a good insurance broker that can help you do that. Let me know if you need an insurance broker. I'd be glad to, make a referral. One of them actually attended this webinar. And, property tax, we have property tax protesters. Actually, this is especially for Texas, because, other markets like Arizona, it doesn't affect us that much. But in places like Texas, is a big issue. We have a tax protester that basically has been fighting for us every year. And so far, we've been very successful. As a matter of fact, two of our properties, we bought them over 2 years ago, and we're paying lower tax than what the seller was paying. And that's just because we have the right, tax protester that has been able to effectively help us, protest the tax. Of course, the challenge is that it takes forever to settle with the city. So usually, you're, a year or so behind the schedule. So usually you have to keep paying and then get caught up, once you settle with the state, or rather with the county. So with us, are you open to partnering on a Phoenix multifamily JV tech deal? Yes, with us, we are very open. It's a team sport. We strongly believe in teams. All our deals, it's not like I'm the only one, right? So we always have somebody we're partnering up with. And so if you have a deal in Phoenix, please call me, reach out to me. Like I indicated, my contact is there. Feel free to schedule a meeting with me on my calendar, and so that, we can be able to explore the opportunity. We're definitely looking for opportunity. I believe there's opportunities out there. And I love Phoenix market. So, I'm a strong believer in the market. Can I invest from a retirement account like IRA, SEP IRA, inherited IRA? Yes and no. It depends on who's your custodian and how it's set up. So typically, if self-directed IRA, definitely most self-directed IRA you can invest. Inherited IRA, it depends with the custodian and everything. You definitely want to reach out to the IRA person. We also have a company we can connect you with. I personally use directed IRA. They're based out of Utah. They've done a good job, and I'll be glad to refer you to them. Have a consultation with them so they can tell you what are your options. I like them because they're also affordable. But I also know a lot of my investors have used, Quest IRA, Trust, among other things. So there's several, self-directed IRA companies out there you can use. Let's see, what are the questions? So what CPA firm do you use, and or do you recommend them? So there are two CPAs. One is the one that, at your personal level, right? The one that you use for personal, how do you call it? To do your own personal tax. So that's a different CPA than the one we use for the property that does the K1 for all the investors and everybody. If you can reach out to me, and you can reach out to me and basically let me know which of those CPA you want to inquire about, and I'll be glad to make an introduction. Shoot me an email or something, and I'll be glad to make an introduction. Okay, so we have a few more questions here, but we have 5 minutes past the hour, so I'm not going to be able to answer all the questions. My apology. We have a number of them, and what I'll do is I'll follow up with some of these questions that you have, and be able to answer and follow up with you directly, so that I can be able to answer and assist. With that, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining the meeting tonight. I appreciate it, and I look forward to you joining us for the next webinar in a couple months. We try to have this every month, every other month, so that at least we can educate, learn from each other, and hopefully do a deal together one of these days. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and looking forward to reconnecting with you guys. Feel free to schedule a meeting or a call with me. If you go to the website, there's a link there to contact us. You can use that to schedule a meeting with me, and we can